After getting locked in the bathroom again, I tearfully made my way to the roof, ready to jump. There was another guy already up there. I held back my sobs. Can I cut in line? Suddenly, my vision blurred, and a stream of pop-up comments scrolled past. This NPC has no idea she's talking to the future villain. He's a monster behind the scenes, burying people in his garden is just another Tuesday for him. LMAO, the villain would never kill himself. He'd just kill everyone else. Don't be fooled by that jade pendant, it's from his first love. The second that thing comes off, he goes full psycho. Just jump already. The main female lead is walking by downstairs. You can do her a favor and get someone to call an ambulance for you. Sure, this NPC dies, but it's for a good cause. The main male lead will see how kind and wonderful the female lead is. His first love? I looked at the jade pendant peeking out from his collar and froze. Wasn't that the fake piece of plastic I traded for a piece of candy when I was 6? After the girls who always tormented me locked me in the bathroom again, I tearfully made my way to the roof, ready to jump. But I didn't expect someone to be there already. A tall guy was standing at the edge, hands in his school uniform pockets, head tilted slightly up at the sky. The sun cast the shadow of his long eyelashes onto his face. Even from the back, I recognized him. Leo, our school's resident genius, and its resident weirdo. He had only transferred here in the second semester of senior year. Rumor was, he had a genius-level IQ but never talked to anyone. He always got the top scores but wouldn't even go on stage to accept an award. He came from a wealthy family but always sat by himself in the back of the classroom. There were countless rumors about him. Some said he had mental issues because his mom was in an institution. Others claimed he was the secret love child of some tycoon, kicked out by the legitimate wife. I just stood there, unsure of what to do. Did I have to wait in line to jump off a building? Whatever. It wouldn't take him long. I could wait. Ever since I transferred here in middle school, I'd been the freak in Jessica's eyes. Because I had a stutter, because I didn't talk much, because my family was middle class with no connections, and most of all, because I was always alone. 3 years. Every single day here had been torture. On the practice test 2 days ago, Jessica copied my answers wrong and decided I'd done it on purpose to screw with her. So after school, she locked me in a bathroom stall to reflect on my actions. My uniform was still stained with damp patches from the bathroom floor, and my hair was a mess from struggling to get out. The sound of Jessica and her friends laughing still echoed in my ears. Enjoy your time in there, Chloe. My legs were sore from standing for so long. I couldn't help but wipe away a tear and sniffle. It seemed Leo had only just noticed me. He glanced over his shoulder, his cold eyes sweeping over my swollen face and disheveled appearance. Can I see cut in L line? I managed to ask, my voice barely a whisper. If I waited any longer, the security guard at the gate would be off duty. I was afraid my body would lie there all night undiscovered. It was hot out. By morning, I'd be covered in bugs. And the smell would be awful. Just as I started to walk forward, my vision blurred again. This NPC has no idea she's talking to the future villain. He's a monster behind the scenes, burying people in his garden is just another Tuesday for him. LMAO, the villain would never kill himself. He'd just kill everyone else. Don't be fooled by that jade pendant, it's from his first love. The second that thing comes off, he goes full psycho. Just jump already. The main female lead is walking by downstairs. You can do her a favor and get someone to call an ambulance for you. Sure, this NPC dies, but it's for a good cause. The main male lead will see how kind and wonderful the female lead is. I blinked, and the comments vanished. His first love? My gaze drifted to the jade pendant peeking out from Leo's collar. It was a vibrant green, carved with a strange pattern. Wait a second, that pattern. Why did it look so familiar? A memory suddenly flashed through my mind. When I was 6, there was a boy in my neighborhood who was always getting picked on by the other kids. One day, I traded my plastic jade pendant for a piece of his candy and told him with a straight face that it was a magic talisman that would protect him. As long as he wore it, he'd have the courage to fight back against anything unfair. But that fake pendant was just a cheap prize my mom had won for me at a carnival ring toss. It couldn't be that much of a coincidence, could it? As I stood there lost in thought, Leo suddenly spoke. "It's about to rain." I looked up at the cloudless sky, confused by his random comment. Then, a few new lines of comments floated by. "It's the villain's birthday today. His mom, the one with the mental illness, is usually the only one who celebrates with him. OMG, this is so sad. This year her condition got worse after some kind of episode, so she's been hospitalized. No one remembered his birthday. So that's why he's on the roof. Guess he has no one at home anymore. I used to think he was just an edgy try-hard, but I guess I was wrong." My heart suddenly ached. It was Leo's birthday. Leo looked at me, then at the edge of the roof, and then stepped aside. "You still haven't turned in your math homework, have you?" I froze. He was just letting me go first. Math homework? What homework? Oh, right. He was the one who collected the math homework. The questions slipped out before I could stop myself. Leo shot me a look of disgust. The 10 worksheets that were handed out this morning. The comments immediately exploded. Whoa, did the villain have a personality transplant? 10 worksheets? Is he planning on making this NPC do her homework before she dies? He's not exactly the studious type, is he? The villain I know would never do homework. Don't hesitate. Jump, jump. The female lead is already at the school gate. Leo turned to leave, his uniform jacket slung casually over his shoulders. Watching him go, I acted on an impulse and reached out. Wait. He stopped and looked back at me, his expression cold. I swallowed hard, my heart pounding in my chest. The comments said Leo was the future supervillain, ruthless and all-powerful. If that was true, then maybe, for the sake of this pendant, he could protect me? I decided to take a chance. See, can you tutor me in math? He looked stunned for a second, raising an eyebrow almost imperceptibly. I quickly added, I'm bad at math. If you help me, I can pay you. My grades were lopsided. But Leo was a genius at everything, almost unnaturally so. If he agreed to tutor me, Jessica and her crew might think we were friends, right? With that, I pulled a slightly squashed chocolate bar from my damp uniform pocket. My mom had stuffed it in there this morning, worried I'd get low blood sugar. The wrapper was limp and soft, and the chocolate itself looked a little unappetizing. I blushed and stammered, this is a deposit. Leo's gaze fell on the chocolate bar, and his dark eyes suddenly seemed to deepen. The comments went wild. She thinks she can buy off the villain with one chocolate bar? In her dreams. LMAO, this NPC doesn't know he stopped eating chocolate after his mom's mental breakdown. She used to sneak chocolates into his pockets, too. Just jump. The female lead is almost at the bottom of the building. You have to jump to move the plot forward. Exactly, after you die the female lead will organize a memorial for you. That's your whole purpose. My hand trembled slightly, but I stubbornly held the chocolate out to him. Leo didn't take it. He just stared at me with an expression I couldn't read. Why me? Aren't you afraid of me? He finally asked, his voice low. I bit my lip. B, because I want to get into a good C college, and M, make my mom happy. And C, could you also, M, maybe P, protect me? Leo's expression shifted. He reached out, took the slightly damp chocolate, unwrapped it, and put it in his mouth. It had melted a little, leaving a faint brown smudge on his lips. Keep up, he mumbled, turning to leave. I jogged to catch up to him. Where are we going? Leo didn't look back. Didn't you want to be tutored? I was floored. Tutoring? Right now? But he was already striding down the stairs, and I had no choice but to hurry after him. A comment suddenly floated by. The villain ate a sweet? This is so out of character. Tutoring? What's he up to? This isn't how the story is supposed to go. Why did the NPC leave? How is the female lead supposed to stand up for her now? As we reached the third-floor landing, I heard a familiar laugh and froze. It was Jessica and her friends. Leo stopped so abruptly I almost ran into his back. After it gets dark, we'll blast some horror movie sound effects to scare her to death. She cried so hard last time we locked her in the bathroom, Jessica's voice carried clearly. Exactly. Who does Chloe think she is, talking to Ryan? Does she really think she's worthy? We're not gonna find someone this easy to bully again. It's a great way to distress, another girl added. Ryan was the class president, handsome, gentle, and from a good family. Plenty of girls in our class had a crush on him. This morning, after the English practice tests were handed back, Ryan had just borrowed my paper for a second, and Jessica had seen it. My fingers dug into my palms, but I didn't dare make a sound. Leo stood beside me, and I could feel a chill coming off of him. She seems to be fighting back a little lately, though. We need to teach her a lesson, Jessica continued. What's there to be afraid of? Her mom just runs that little dumpling shop next to the school. If she dares to fight back, we'll go smash her mom's shop. LMAO. Last time her mom thought I was friends with that stutterer and even gave me a bunch of free dumplings, a guy said contemptuously. My vision went black, and I almost collapsed. My mom's dumpling shop was her entire life savings, the only source of income for the two of us. Jessica's uncle was a school administrator, so no matter how many times I reported it to the teachers, it was useless. They would just ask me, why did everyone bully me and not other people? Had I ever tried to find the problem within myself? As for calling the police, I had tried once, but because of my stutter, before I could even explain what happened, my teacher said nothing of the sort had occurred, apologized on my behalf, and said I was filing a false report. After that, the bullying only got worse. I bit my lip until I tasted blood. Jessica and her friends turned the corner, laughing, and their voices died abruptly. The air froze. The girls looked like someone had hit the pause button, their smiles stuck on their faces. They instinctively flattened themselves against the wall, clearing a path for Leo. I kept my head down, sticking close behind him. He was so tall that he completely blocked my view. Chloe? How did you get out? Didn't I tell you to stay in the bathroom and think about what you did? Jessica's shrill voice broke the silence as she reached out to block me. My fingers twisted together unconsciously. The stall door was high. I had climbed on top of the toilet tank to get out, and my knees were still stinging from the fall. I stammered, my eyes instinctively looking toward Leo. But he didn't even slow down. My heart felt like it was being squeezed by an invisible hand. What was I even expecting? Maybe he'd only help me on a whim. Why would a bullied girl with a stutter expect the most popular guy in school to have her back? I'm talking to you. Who said you could? Jessica grabbed my wrist and raised her other hand to slap me. Just then, her hand was caught in midair. Leo had turned back at some point. His hand was clamped firmly around her wrist, his knuckles white from the force. Who said you could touch her? His voice was quiet, but it sent a shiver down everyone's spine. Jessica's face went pale. Leo, this is between me and her. Leo suddenly smiled. It was a smile that sent a chill down my back. Not his usual cold, indifferent smile, but one that was cruel and sinister. It's my business now. He let go, and Jessica stumbled back a few steps. Don't let there be a next time. I won't go easy on you just because you're a girl, he said slowly, deliberately. The color drained from the faces of Jessica and her friends. The comments scrolled frantically. Holy shit. The villain is going off. I suddenly feel so bad for the NPC. Why should she get bullied just because she's quiet? OMG, I love how he's protecting her. Leo turned to leave but paused when he saw my tear-filled eyes. He reached out, his fingertips lightly brushing the red mark on my wrist where Jessica had grabbed me. Does it hurt? I shook my head, but tears started streaming down my face uncontrollably. It was the first time anyone had ever stood up for me. Leo's brow furrowed even deeper. Jessica flinched and slapped her own face. I won't do it again. Then she and her friends scrambled away. Let's go. Leo turned and took my backpack from me. I wiped my tears and jogged to keep up. He walked fast, and I had to work to match his pace. He stopped suddenly at the stairwell, and I, failing to brake in time, crashed right into his back. Sorry. I said, scrambling backward. He pulled out his phone and handed it to me. Put your number in. My number? For what? Then it hit me. Right, for tutoring. The classroom was empty. Someone who had forgotten their homework came back, saw Leo, and immediately turned and fled. Out of 10 worksheets, he only got through 2 before my head was spinning. Leo's long fingers flew across the scratch paper, his problem-solving steps so fast I couldn't keep up. How did you get that P part? I asked cautiously. He stopped writing and looked up at me, his dark eyes clearly saying, "You don't even get this?" I hung my head in shame, my fingers fidgeting with the edge of the paper. Was it my fault my brain wasn't wired for math? I wanted to be good at it. But math was just hard. A comment floated by. The gap between a genius and a slacker is a chasm. OMG, that look he's giving her is basically saying, where is your brain? I came here to see the main characters meet, but they still don't know each other, and instead I've been forced to watch over an hour of math tutoring. I've basically been a student in this study session. Just when I thought he was about to give up on me, he took a deep breath and flipped the worksheet back to the first page. Let's start from the top, he said. By the time we finished, it was already dark. Leo capped his pen. I snuck a peek at his profile and saw his brow was slightly furrowed, as if he were more exhausted than when he was doing the problems himself. I'll walk you out. I stammered. He glanced at me. You'll walk me out? The comments erupted in laughter. Ha ha ha, reverse escort. Villain, are you sure it's not me protecting you? In the end, Leo walked me to my mom's dumpling shop. The shop was small but clean, and the steamers were still letting off fragrant clouds of steam that filled the street. My mom was wiping down tables when she looked up and saw me with Leo, clearly surprised. Mom, this is my classmate, I quickly explained. He was just helping me with my homework. My mom's eyes lit up. Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. She wiped her hands and greeted him warmly. Come on, we were just about to eat. Join us. I thought Leo would refuse. But he just nodded. Okay. I was on pins and needles throughout the entire meal. When my mom heard that Leo was a top student and was tutoring me, she looked at him like he was a savior. This kid of mine, she's just a little weak in math. Her other subjects are fine. Here, eat more. It's good for the brain. My mom said as she took the big chicken leg from my bowl and put it in Leo's. That was my chicken leg. Leo accepted the chicken leg, calmly looked up at me, and a small smile played on his lips. Thank you, ma'am. What about me? Shouldn't he be thanking me? The comments were dying of laughter. Ha ha ha, the villain stealing food. Chloe, my chicken leg. Leo, it tastes better when it's stolen. I resentfully poked at the vegetables in my bowl, but Leo suddenly tapped the edge of my bowl with his chopsticks. I looked up and saw he had put the chicken leg back in my bowl. Eat it. You need the brain food. Don't make me explain the same thing 3 times again, he said nonchalantly. I froze, my heart skipping a beat. My mom was beaming beside us. "Oh, you kids get along so well." Leo didn't say anything, just looked down at his food, but the tips of his ears turned a little red. The comments exploded. "Ah, he's blushing. Wait a minute. Isn't he supposed to be the female lead's attack dog?" Later in the story he takes a knife for her and even donates his cornea to her. Am I watching a possessive villain drama? How did it turn into a tutoring show? After that day, I started bringing my mom's dumplings for Leo every day. Pork, vegetable, red bean paste. Every morning, I would secretly stuff 3 of them into his desk. Leo never said he liked them, but they always disappeared without a trace. The comments were all complaining that I was monopolizing his time, leaving him no room to go bother the female lead. Meanwhile, the male lead, Ryan, and the female lead from the class next door, Sophia, had their first encounter over a basketball. Ryan had accidentally hit Sophia in the head with it. He didn't hold back, and he actually knocked her out. It wasn't a great start, and their relationship was a little strained. The people who used to bully me started avoiding me, and the bruises on my body finally had a chance to heal. Until one day, as I was putting the dumplings in Leo's desk, a cold sneer came from behind me. Well, Chloe. Switched careers to be a delivery girl now? Jessica was leaning against the doorframe with her arms crossed, her eyes fixed on me with a sinister glare. Her dark circles were heavy, her lips were pressed into a tight line, and she looked like a string pulled to its breaking point. I instinctively tried to hide the dumplings behind my back. "It's none of your business." Jessica suddenly laughed, a chilling sound that made my hair stand on end. "You think you're safe just because Leo has your back?" I was taken aback. Jessica had been absent for a week. Her uncle, the school administrator, had been suspended and was under investigation for sexually harassing students. A graduate had reported him online with concrete evidence. But what did that have to do with Leo? Her uncle brought it on himself. My fingers unconsciously tightened around the plastic bag of dumplings. The comments exploded. That graduate was so brave. She tried to report him for a long time, but it kept getting swept under the rug. If the villain hadn't cleared the way for her, she probably would have killed herself. Apparently she wasn't the only one. Another girl had a complete mental breakdown. She was assaulted, but her parents didn't believe her and thought she was just dating someone. They pushed her over the edge. Jessica had already secretly promised her uncle that after graduation, she'd give Chloe to him to play with. All the blood in my body turned to ice. Jessica leaned in close, her voice a low hiss. "A guy like Leo will get tired of you and toss you aside." "Chloe." A cold voice came from the doorway. Leo was standing there, his uniform jacket hanging loosely on his shoulders, his eyes as cold as ice. Jessica's words died in her throat, and her face went white. "Dumplings," I stammered, holding up the plastic bag, relieved. Leo walked over, took the bag right out of my hand, and took a bite of a dumpling right in front of Jessica. "Delicious." Jessica's face turned an even uglier shade. During study hall that afternoon, I was struggling with my math worksheet when Ryan suddenly tapped on my desk. "Here's your English paper back. Need any help?" "I can teach you," he said, handing me the test and glancing at my disastrous-looking math problems. Just as I was about to thank him, a hand with well-defined knuckles reached over my shoulder and snatched the worksheet. "Problem 3. I've explained it 3 times. Still wrong?" Leo was standing behind me, his voice chillingly cool. I shrank back. I forgot. Ryan smiled awkwardly. "Leo, if you're busy, I can help Chloe." "No need. She's my student." Leo pulled up the chair next to me and slapped the worksheet down on the desk. Ryan rubbed his nose and walked away. He picked up a pen and scribbled down the solution steps on a piece of scratch paper. "Look at the problem. If you space out again, you're doing 3 extra worksheets tomorrow." He tapped my forehead. I clutched my forehead, my heart racing. The sunlight fell on his eyelashes, casting a small shadow on his cheek. I suddenly noticed how long Leo's eyelashes were. They fluttered like a fan when he blinked. "Look at the problem, not me," he said again, but the tips of his ears quietly turned red. Leo's tutoring was surprisingly effective. On the third practice SAT, my class rank jumped from 130th to 83rd. My mom was so happy she set off firecrackers in front of the dumpling shop and ran a buy two, get one free special for 3 days. When Leo walked by that day, my mom cornered him and forced 5 dumplings and a jar of homemade chili sauce on him. She also declared that she would provide his breakfast for the entire year. On the way home from school, I gathered my courage and asked him, "Do you think I can get into DU?" D University was Leo's first choice, a top-tier school. My scores were still a little short. Leo glanced at me, a slight smile on his lips. "Only if your ancestors come back from the dead to help you." My head drooped, disappointed. "But, I can tutor you for 2 more months. Maybe they'll actually show up," he added. My fighting spirit was instantly reignited. If I could get into D University, I could make lots of money for my mom so she wouldn't have to work so hard selling dumplings. A comment floated by. "The villain can't help being a softie under that tough exterior." Go for it, Chloe. D University isn't just a dream. Ancestors, this new generation is so high maintenance. Now we have to get up in the middle of the night to grant wishes. On this latest test, Jessica's score plummeted. She dropped 98 places, landing at the bottom of the class. Ever since her uncle's scandal, she had become a different person. Her eyes were dark and gloomy, and she always looked at me with a bone-chilling hatred. I did my best to avoid her, and at some point, Leo started waiting for me after school every day, rain or shine. Until that rainy day. I waited at the school gate for half an hour, but there was no sign of him. His phone went straight to voicemail. The comments suddenly started popping up frantically. OMG. The female lead just got attacked by dogs set on her by another girl. The villain got bitten trying to save her. The male lead only managed to lure 1 dog away, there are still 2 left. And it's a dead-end alley. Leo and the others were trapped in a dead-end alley with dogs? My mind went blank. I dropped my umbrella and sprinted into the rain. When I stumbled into the alley, I was terrified by what I saw. Leo had his back to me, shielding Sophia. He was clutching half a brick in his hand. 2 large dogs were snarling, slowly closing in. I screamed, and they both whipped their heads around to look at me. "Chloe. What are you doing here? Run!" he yelled, his eyes widening in shock. I swung my umbrella and charged. "Gee, get away." The frame of the umbrella hit one of the dogs on the back. It let out a pained yelp. The other dog immediately turned and lunged at me. I squeezed my eyes shut and swung the umbrella wildly, then I heard Leo roar. The brick in his hand smashed into the head of the dog that was about to bite me. The injured dog whimpered and ran off with its tail between its legs. The remaining one scrambled away too. When Leo grabbed my wrist, I realized I was shaking. Sophia dragged her injured leg to the wall, her face as white as a sheet. The comments were flashing wildly. "Whoa, Chloe went berserk? That was terrifying. I thought she was going to get mauled. The plot's gone off the rails." The villain was supposed to get his wrist bitten, which would stop him from taking the SATs, but now he and the female lead both just have leg injuries. "Are you crazy? That dog could have ripped your throat out." Leo's voice was hoarse. Only then did I see how badly they were both hurt. Thankfully, it was just their legs. I heard sirens in the distance. Ryan ran into the alley, out of breath. When he saw the 3 of us drenched and the blood on the ground, his face went pale. What happened?" he stammered. Leo shot him a cold look and said nothing, just draped an arm over my shoulder and leaned on me for support. I helped him while Ryan rushed over to help Sophia. The ambulance arrived quickly, and the paramedics gave them a quick patch-up. Leo's right leg had the deepest bite, a bloody mess, but he didn't make a sound the whole time, just clenched his jaw. They went to the hospital for rabies shots. Sophia's face was pale, but she still managed a small smile at me. Thank you, Chloe. She knew my name? I was a little surprised. No problem. Ryan stood nearby, looking at me with a strange expression. I never would have guessed. You're so brave. I looked down, a little embarrassed. Leo called my name from the side. Chloe, I can't walk. Can't walk? I tilted my head and looked at the crutches next to him. His face darkened. The police quickly got involved. The 3 dogs weren't strays. They had been deliberately kept and starved for 3 days to increase their aggression. Security footage showed that the dogs were intentionally released by Ryan's childhood friend, Brooke. The comments scrolled frantically across my vision. That Brooke girl is evil. She tried to ruin Sophia's future just because she talked to Ryan a few times. LMAO, the villain was just passing by and ended up getting bitten along with the female lead. A perfect pair, one for each leg. Good thing Ryan has long legs. He jumped onto a tree to escape the dogs and didn't get bitten. After we returned to school, Sophia started coming to our classroom to find me all the time. Our classmates were surprised to see us hanging out together. Ryan took it upon himself to walk Sophia to and from school. It turned out their families lived in the same neighborhood. And Sophia would always make him take a detour to my mom's dumpling shop. After school, the second floor of my family's shop was covered in worksheets. Leo would be explaining math problems to me, while Ryan explained English grammar to Sophia. It was a strange, slightly surreal scene. Problem 3. I've explained it 5 times. Chloe, what is in your head? Leo sighed. Dumpling filling? And look at you, you have no patience, Sophia interjected, grabbing my paper. She scribbled down the solution, then paused, looking confused herself. Wait, is this answer wrong? Ryan leaned over to look, but Leo had already snatched the paper back. You're going to confuse her. You think you can do better? Then you teach her. Sophia kicked his chair with her good leg. And Leo really did teach me. If 1 time wasn't enough, he'd do it twice. If twice wasn't enough, 3 times, until his eyes glazed over and he let out a weary sigh. It was the last week before the SATs. My scores had stabilized in the top 50 of our grade, occasionally breaking into the top 30. Leo said that if I still couldn't get into D University, it would be an insult to his teaching abilities. Sophia, munching on one of my mom's special red bean buns, rolled her eyes. Don't listen to him. Just do your best. Ryan seized the opportunity to ask Sophia, which college did you apply to? She didn't even look up. Not the same one as you. Ryan's face fell instantly. The bun in his hand suddenly seemed tasteless. A comment floated by. Ryan, I got rejected before I even confessed? Oh, Sophia, you're just being stubborn. You totally copied Ryan's application list. Leo, mortals. The 4 of us were joking around as we left school when we noticed a crowd gathered around my mom's dumpling shop. Scam artist. Using expired meat to poison students. The SATs are right around the corner. This is basically attempted murder. Shut this place down. My heart sank, and I broke into a run. In the center of the crowd, my mom stood by the steamers, her face pale, a rolling pin still in her hand. A few people holding up their phones, live streaming, were yelling at her, while others threw rocks from the street into the shop. Stop it. I ran over and stood in front of my mom. My mom's D dumpling shop H has been open F for over 10 years. She's never used bad meat. A piece of a rock suddenly flew toward me. I instinctively closed my eyes, but I didn't feel any pain. Leo had dashed in front of me at some point. The rock hit him on the temple, and blood immediately trickled down from his brow. Leo. I cried out. He wiped away the blood with the back of his hand, his eyes terrifyingly cold. Who threw that? The crowd fell silent for a few seconds. Sophia and Ryan pushed their way through. We eat at Chloe's dumplings every day. How come we're not poisoned? Ryan held up his phone. I've already called the police. Spreading rumors and slander is a crime. The comments went crazy. WHOA, the villain's bleeding. Did someone intentionally poison the food? My view is stuck on the NPC, I have no idea what happened at the shop. This is a major plot deviation. In the original story, nothing happened to the dumpling shop. Because after the NPC jumped, her mom was so heartbroken she closed the shop and left town, only to get hit by a car later in a daze. Leo walked step by step toward the blonde guy who was leading the protest. Did you personally see her use expired meat? The guy was so scared he backed away. That's what everyone's saying online. What sight? Blood was still trickling from his forehead, but his gaze was terrifyingly calm. The blonde guy scrambled to run but was stopped by the police who had just arrived. At the station. The police told us that someone had indeed been hospitalized for food poisoning, but it was only one person, Jessica. No way. My mom's shop has been open for over 10 years. She'd never. The lab report is right here. We detected laxatives in the dumplings, the officer said, pushing a file toward me. My fingers started to tremble. Sophia grabbed my hand. Could someone have tampered with them? Otherwise, how could so many people eat from Chloe's dumplings, but only Jessica got sick? The police said that, for now, there was no evidence that Jessica had poisoned herself. They couldn't find any record of her buying laxatives. And with the SATs right around the corner, it didn't make sense for her to sabotage herself like that. My mom was quietly wiping away tears. At the hospital, Jessica's room was surrounded by reporters. She was live streaming from her phone. Chloe has been playing the victim, but Leo is the real one pulling the strings. She deliberately spread rumors that I was bullying her, but in reality, she's been using Leo's connections to bully me. As soon as we got close, we heard a scream from the room. Don't let them in. Through the small glass window on the door, I saw Jessica cowering in her hospital bed, crying for the camera. Leo uses his good grades to get away with everything, and he and Chloe have been bullying me. I'm just a regular student with no power. How am I supposed to fight against Leo and the Lin family behind him? When she mentioned the Lin family, Leo's expression turned terrifyingly cold. Her friends immediately started flooding the comments section of her stream to back her up. Jessica never bullied Chloe. It was Chloe who deliberately broke Jessica's pen. Leo's mother was a maid for the Lin family. She got pregnant and ran away. The Lins are the richest family in C-Town. Of course a secret love child like Leo would be so arrogant. The revelations in the comments section spread like wildfire, and Leo's entire family history was laid bare. The pop-up comments, which only I could see, knew the truth. What love child? Leo's parents were in a real relationship. It was a love story between the second son of the Lin family and the maid's daughter. The second son only abandoned them for an arranged marriage to benefit his family. Leo stood in the shadows of the hallway, his face expressionless, but the veins popping on his neck betrayed his anger. The comments started to lag. Jessica's acting is better than most celebrities. This family drama was supposed to come out after the SATs. Why is it happening so much earlier? I am so sorry. This is all my fault, I whispered, guilt and self-blame threatening to swallow me whole. Leo suddenly turned, his phone screen going dark. Why would Jessica do this right before the SATs? He asked. I was stunned. Her grades are so bad she can't even get into a state school. So she's going to drag everyone down with her. Chloe, you're not going to let this beat you, are you? The comments scrolled frantically. The villain sees right through it all. Jessica's rotten, so she wants to spoil everyone else. The SATs are the real battlefield, girls. Sophia and Ryan were trying to defend my mom and me in the comments section, but their voices were drowned out. Leo stared into my eyes, his expression incredibly serious. "Chloe, use your pencil on that test and prove them wrong." I swallowed hard and nodded firmly. The situation escalated quickly. People started protesting outside my mom's dumpling shop, demanding justice for Jessica. The comments flashed frantically. "Poor NPC. Villain, go protect her." Even on the way to school, I felt like someone was following me. When I looked back, I only saw a man in a mask who pretended to stop, but his eyes kept darting toward me. I quickened my pace, my heart pounding like a drum. "Bitch." When no one else was around, the man suddenly lunged at me, holding an open bottle. "Who said you could hurt Jessica?" I instinctively threw my arms up to cover my face, my mind completely blank. "Chloe." A dark figure slammed into me, knocking me hard to the side. The bottle hit the wall, and the splashing liquid sizzled and burned through the hem of Leo's shirt. The comments exploded. "Holy shit, is that acid? Is the villain hurt? This guy is insane." Leo grabbed the man's wrist and, with a swift motion, punched him. The mask flew off, revealing a twisted, furious face. It was Jessica's #1 follower, the guy who was always pouring ink on my chair. Leo. Don't. Before I could finish, the two of them were already fighting. In the chaos, the string of Leo's jade pendant was torn, and it fell to the side. Time seemed to stand still for a second. Then I saw his eyes turn cold and merciless, like a cornered animal. He slammed the guy against the wall by his throat, the veins on the back of his hand bulging. "You're asking to die." The guy's face turned red, then purple. Leo. Stop." I rushed over and grabbed his arm. I'm okay." Leo looked at me, then seemed to snap out of it and let go. The guy slumped to the ground, coughing violently. "Get lost." The guy scrambled away. Here." I stood on my tiptoes, trying to put the jade pendant back around Leo's neck. The moment I tied the knot, he suddenly pulled me into a hug. "I'm so glad you're okay." I froze, the world narrowing to the sound of the wind in my ears. When Leo came to his senses, he said he would walk me to and from school for the next few days. We went to the police station. The officers found the guy quickly. When they arrested him, he was still screaming that anyone who hurt Jessica would pay. A comment floated by. "This level of obsession is terrifying. What did Jessica do to brainwash him? What an idiot. He's going to waste his youth in jail." My mom's dumpling shop was forced to close for inspection. Jessica's side refused any compensation, they just wanted me to be punished. Sophia was slumped over her desk, doodling on her test paper with a pencil. "I can't study without my red bean buns." Ryan's phone buzzed. He stepped out to take the call and came back with a strange look on his face. "Leo, Mr. Lynn's son died in a car crash last night," he said hesitantly. The hand Leo was holding his pen with tensed, veins popping. "It has nothing to do with me. The Lynn family wants to take you back. They know we know each other, so they had my dad pass along a message. They said if you agree to go back, they'll handle the dumpling shop incident and all the negative press online." Ryan relayed the message with difficulty, glancing at me. "The condition is, you have to give up D University and study abroad." "And no. We don't need it." I shot to my feet, a wave of panic washing over me. Leo sat motionless, his lips pressed into a thin line. I grabbed his hand and found his palm was ice cold. "We're going to DU together." "Why, you promised." Sophia suddenly slammed her pencil down. "Ryan, are you an idiot? Why would you even pass along a message like that? Does the Lynn family think you're their delivery boy? I'm not saying I support him going back. The Lynn family is a mess right now. I hope Leo stays as far away from them as possible." The comments went crazy. The Booths only remember the villain now that they're about to have no heir? Study abroad? More like they want to ship him off so he's out of the way. They want the son, but not the power that comes with him. They want it both ways. Leo, don't listen to them. D University is your destiny. Leo finally looked up, his gaze falling on my hand gripping his. He gently squeezed back, his voice very soft. Chloe. What if I said? I don't want to hear it. The room was terrifyingly quiet. Sophia and Ryan had slipped out at some point. Leo suddenly reached up, took off the jade pendant he never removed, and placed it in my palm. When we were 6, a little fool traded her plastic for my candy. Back then, my mom's depression was getting worse, and my life was pretty hard. I was so grateful to you for giving me a little bit of comfort and courage in such a dark time. My eyes widened, my heart suddenly racing. You forgot? I never did, Leo said with a small smile. He retied the pendant around his neck and ruffled my hair as he stood up. See you at D University, Stutterbug. The comments exploded. So the pendant was from the NPC. OMG, the childhood flashback makes sense now. But if the villain doesn't go back to the Lin family, how will they fix this mess? So, did the villain recognize her before she tried to jump? Did he transfer to this school just for her? At school, Sophia and Ryan ran around and managed to find over a dozen students willing to testify for me. One by one, they came forward to share what they had witnessed over the years. Chloe's textbooks were torn up 3 times, the class president said quietly. I saw Jessica pour red ink on her chair with my own eyes. When she was hiding in the bathroom stall crying, I was the one who secretly passed her tissues, the arts committee member sighed. Public opinion started to shift, but what really blew up the internet was a video that suddenly started circulating. In the clip, Jessica and her friends were shoving me into a bathroom stall, pulling my hair, and pouring dirty water over my head. Jessica's arrogant laughter was piercingly loud. See? This is what happens when you cross me. The comments went nuclear. Did she just expose herself? She probably filmed it to humiliate Chloe, right? Is this what you call a cell phone? Wow. The main characters and the villain actually went and threatened Jessica's friends behind the scenes. One of them got scared and leaked the video. It turned out Jessica had shared the video in a private group chat to show off, never expecting someone to leak it anonymously online. The irony was that her uncle had used his authority to delete all the school's security footage. But this video, filmed by the perpetrator herself, became the most powerful piece of evidence. The day the news broke, all the teachers in our class who had turned a blind eye were torn to shreds online. The Board of Education personally stepped in to handle my bullying case. My mom saw the video. She swayed and nearly fainted. Mom. I rushed over to steady her. Mom, I am okay. Leo P protected me. She turned and threw her arms around Leo, who was standing behind me, and sobbed like a child. Thank you. Thank you for looking after my Chloe. Leo's entire body went rigid, his hands hovering in the air, unsure of what to do. A single comment floated by after a moment of silence. The villain is blushing. No one's hugged him like that since his mom got sick. My nose stung, and tears suddenly fell from my eyes. Online, Jessica saw the tide turning against her and started to panic. In front of her live stream camera, her face was pale as she shrieked, "Those videos are all fake." The people defending Chloe were definitely paid off. She leaned weakly against her hospital bed, her lips trembling. But my food poisoning is real. I can barely even hold a pen right now. The SATs are definitely going to be affected. Someone suddenly posted a screenshot. It was Jessica's report card from last semester. Her total score wasn't even high enough to get into a 4-year college. And she's blaming food poisoning for her grades? LMAO, you couldn't have passed even without it. Live footage of a self-staged drama backfiring. She fumbled to end the live stream, the last frame frozen on her twisted expression. The night before the SATs, the police announcement dropped like a bombshell. Following an investigation, a high school student, identified as Jessica, has been found to have directed another individual to add laxatives to dumplings purchased from Chloe's Dumplings, resulting in her own food poisoning. The individual who administered the substance has confessed, and the case is under further investigation. The closure order on my mom's shop was lifted that night. Leo stood at the doorway, watching my mom excitedly light incense for good luck, and suddenly said, "Tomorrow. Do well. I'll tell you a secret after the test." The comments instantly boiled over. What secret? Is he going to confess? Hurry up and take your tests, you're killing me. The female lead next door also said she has a secret for the male lead after the tests. Why do you high schoolers have so many secrets? Is there something we aren't allowed to know? When the final bell rang on the last day of the SATs, I practically floated out of the exam hall. Leo was standing under a tree by the entrance, holding a bottle of ice-cold orange soda. Seeing my worried expression, he raised an eyebrow. Bombed it? So hard. My voice was weak. What if I don't get into DU? He twisted open the soda and handed it to me. Then I'll just have to work a little harder. Huh. I'll have to take the 2-hour bus ride to come see you. He said it so casually. I choked on my soda, coughing until my face was bright red. Leo patted my back, a hint of a smile in his eyes. The comments went wild. Ah, that's a confession. Villain, when did you get so smooth? Bus ride dates are so sweet. Sophia and Ryan walked over just in time to see me chugging my soda with a red face. Geniuses are just built different, Sophia said, rolling her eyes. He still has the energy to flirt after a test like that. Leo's expression didn't change. You ate 3 red bean buns after the test. None of your business. Don't you need brainpower for a test? I was hungry, so what? Sophia shot back, getting worked up. Ryan quickly tried to calm her down. Don't be mad, don't be mad. On the day the results were posted, the dumpling shop was packed. Leo's name was at the very top of the state's list of high scorers. I had just scraped by, barely making the cutoff for D University. After seeing that Sophia's acceptance letter was for the same university as his, Ryan grinned like an idiot for a solid 10 minutes. My mom plastered the wall with red paper celebrating the top scorer. When she lifted the steamer lid, the special honor roll dumplings billowed with hot steam. Eat up. And come home to visit often. She wiped her tears as she pressed dumplings into Leo's hands. Leo stood there holding the dumplings, stunned. His throat moved, and he finally managed a quiet I secretly hooked his pinky with mine. What about the secret you promised? He leaned down and whispered in my ear. When we were 6 and I was waiting for you to trade your candy, it wasn't a coincidence. I was waiting there for you. On the first day of college, Leo was surrounded by girls asking for his number in front of the dorms. Just as I was about to walk over, his eyes met mine from across the crowd. Sorry, he said to them. I'm worried my future girlfriend might get jealous.